So a couple of, before we start, I wanted to make sure that we have some housekeeping slides that we wanted to make sure that we go over prior to the conference. Please submit all of your questions via the chat section located on the left-hand side of the module. Questions will be answered at the end of the session. The session will be recorded, and a link to the recording will be provided to all registrants and participants. And lastly, we encourage everybody to live tweet today about the things that they're going to be learning with us through the customer journey with AudioCodes by using the following hashtag, Road to Success. And now I'd like to kind of go over, and for those who don't know about us here at Folloze, here we provide an innovative account-based marketing sales platform which enables B2B sales teams to use the most targeted marketing techniques to engage, develop, and win their top target accounts. It's built to scale, and the platform allows your marketing to empower sales to deliver account-specific content campaigns through our awesome content boards. With that, now I would like to shoot it over to Eric.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks. Really appreciate it. Look forward to talking about some of the things and some of the ways that we've been using Folloze here at AudioCodes. And just kind of as a little bit of background, for those of you who aren't familiar with AudioCodes, just to understand the space that we're in, we're one of the leading providers of converged business voice solutions. Been operating for about 23 years and really focus on selling through our partner channel and selling to customers, supporting 66 of the top 100 service providers, and really over 50 of the Fortune 500 enterprises leverage AudioCodes technology. And we really focus on leading the markets that we're in, whether that's enterprise session border controllers from the connectivity standpoint, all the way down through and including VoIP or voice over IP gateways, deploying over 10 million in the last 5 years. So pretty exciting space, and certainly look forward to talking with you today.
Awesome. Let's jump right in. So Eric, could you let us know, could we start off with some of the ABM challenges that you faced at the start of your journey? If you could kind of walk us through that portion.
Yeah, no, you bet. And it's interesting because ABM is really a top buzzword today. And one of the first challenges we faced is really trying to convince people internally that ABM is more than a buzzword, and that it actually has a lot of value in what we were trying to accomplish, right? So we had a situation where we knew we had the right message, but really couldn't afford to saturate the market. So kind of the image on the right here, we had a lot of darts, we weren't necessarily hitting the target, right? And we couldn't afford to just, as I put it, put up a billboard on every highway in every major city to let people know the great things that AudioCodes is doing. And so that's really where the idea of ABM came in, and trying to define that it's more than a buzzword, and address that challenge. Then the other one is sales alignment, and I think that's something that I continue to hear, and I think within the industry we hear a lot, is how to make sure that you can align sales and marketing into a cohesive team to really improve the sales rate of success. Because ultimately the whole goal of this is for marketing to be able to do strategic focused campaigns, hitting the right targets, and then leveraging that to kind of grow the sales. And the other image here, the old dogs should learn new tricks, right? That's the old adage, and the idea that a lot of the salespeople were kind of set in their ways was definitely a challenge that we needed to overcome when we were looking at kind of going down this path. So I think that's kind of the three main things that we really needed to overcome when we started down this journey.
Great. So now that you've identified, your major challenges, I know as a marketer, it's like, okay, next step, now how do we get to the solution? How do we even find the right solution? And how do we get buy-in? Can you just elaborate on that a little bit, Eric?
Yeah, you bet. And obviously, some of the core things here, assessing the need for this type of solution, looking at the top 3 solutions. And it's interesting because, in this space, there's not necessarily exact solution-to-solution matches, right? There's definitely situations where there's kind of, there's a little bit of overlap here, a little bit of overlap there that needs to be addressed, and the idea of team buy-in and how do we go through to implement it. And really, some of the things that we looked at that drove us down the path of trying to arrive at a decision to evaluate platforms was, my team was spending way too much time on manual activities. In this case, how we would actually enable our partners to understand the great things that AudioCodes was doing, right? You have this mind share challenge. And so they were spending a lot of time manually going in, whether placing phone calls, sending emails, to talk about the latest things with AudioCodes. And the challenge we had is that we continued, because of the market that we're in, innovation is a requirement. And we kept on coming out with new products, new solutions, new promotions, and it really left a pretty sizable gap between what was possible within the AudioCodes solution stack and what was known to our partners and even to our end customers. So we faced a situation where our partners were really stuck with the perception of what we did several years ago, and we just didn't have the scale necessary to teach each partner individually. We really needed to look at another solution. And then the other part is that we really started to experience delays from corporate marketing, right? We were closely aligned, and we are closely aligned with corporate marketing, but timing didn't always work, and agility was often, it wasn't necessarily what we needed to be able to adapt, right? So, I put here corporate marketing's good, regional marketing's awesome, right? And the reason I say that is that, corporate marketing has their set plan. They plan out a little bit further, but, here in the regional side, we try to be a lot more dynamic, responding almost daily to things that happen in the field. And so, looking to address those, we really wanted to be able to quickly build mini campaigns and execute. And we were looking at the right way to do that. And we had to address and look at, are we looking at a marketing tool or a sales tool to be able to execute? And, the conclusion we came to is really both. So I think all those things combined really brought us to the decision to evaluate platforms to help solve those challenges we kind of talked about when it comes to ABM.
Okay, great. So now that you were in that stage and you selected, the correct tool, as a marketer, we go through this aha moment, right? We've put in that work, sharpening our tools, getting the right tool in-house. What was that aha moment for you?
So I tried to depict this in pictures, right? So my team caught on pretty quickly, and they started to see the value because they were involved in it, right? It's obviously easier to push your own team than it is to really educate the broader organization. And so the picture here is, that old adage of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. And so I was pretty convicted in the fact that we had the right solution. But it was a challenge to find that aha moment, to really get other people to see it. And really what it came down to was insight after send, right? So what I mean by this is kind of the concept that, typically in the sales organization, once you attach a document or once you click the send button on an email, you don't necessarily know what happens after that. Right? You don't get the visibility. You don't get the insight that you need. Did they open it? Did they forward it? How long did they look at it? And with Folloze, what we're able to do, yeah, exactly. It's kind of like it goes off into the ether, right? You don't know what happens.
Yep.
But with Folloze, once we send this out, we get a tremendous amount of insight, and we can see who opens it, when they open it, how long they spend on different pieces of content, and it really provides insight beyond what's possible before. And so, again, my team got it pretty quickly, but once we started to show this to sales, it was kind of like that second page. They couldn't get to the trough fast enough, right? They're like, wait a second.
Wow.
You're telling me that that I can understand who's looking at these messages and how long they're spending and what pieces of content they're looking at after I click send. I said, yeah, here, just do this, right? And so that was kind of the aha moment that we can start to scale. We can scale very quickly. We can be agile, and then we can provide feedback where feedback wasn't really possible before.
Okay, so just to kind of expand on that, I'm really curious. You said it was pretty immediate when you spoke to your sales team and actually showed this to them. I mean, what was that time frame like? I mean, was it like, you know, you implemented and then you were immediately showing them a dashboard, or just, you know, was it a training session that you had held, or was it just a simple, here you guys, this is, you know, here's a campaign that we created, this is the metrics that you can take a look at and insight? Was it pretty immediate in that sense, like you said?
So really from start to finish, you know, we're talking a couple of days for them to realize, and here's what I mean. So we started off pretty small, right? And we picked 1 or 2 salespeople that were kind of, you know, those people willing to try new things. And we built a campaign and launched it out. We leveraged the technology called a content play to send it out. And immediately on the first send, we started to see responses, right, which we expected. We were very happy to see that. And then we started to share that with our sales team. And it was within a couple of days after that first, you know, send, we sent it out to, you know, 50, 60 people, whatever, and they started to see, and they went through this list and they said, wait a second, so you're telling me that, you know, Bobby over here, who I've been trying to get in touch with, but I don't know if he's, you know, even reads my emails, looked at these 3 pieces of content. Yep, Bobby looked at these 3 pieces of content. And then, you know, Sarah over here, you know, she looked at this piece of content. You know, that's interesting because I was just working with her on a particular deal. So it started to kind of engage, and then they kind of went back and said, wait a second, so I can now do this with, in this case, all of my partners, and I can automate this, and then I can get this feedback as it happens. I said, yeah, that's what we're talking about here. And that was kind of the, you know, from soup to nuts, it was a couple of days when they started to see, okay, how can I do this more?
Cool. All right. So let's kind of dive in on that use case. Tell us a little bit about this use case that did really well for you, and kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, you know, our first use case is really around educating our partners. So we sell exclusively through our partner channel. We have quite a number of partners that sell the AudioCodes solution. And one of the challenges is these partners also sell hundreds of other solutions, right? So mind share is often important. And so the first use case is saying, okay, how can we put the right content in front of these people at the right time and then see what's happening? So really the use case was one-to-many communication, right? My team, being the size that it is, we couldn't call everybody and have individual conversations, so we needed to find a way to scale. And so we wanted to drive regular touch points. But one of the things here too is that although a lot of people knew my team, more power came from this coming from sales. So this is sales executed, right? So in other words, sales already had a lot of these relationships. So when you get an email from someone you know, obviously you're more likely to read it and engage. And so although my team was the one that built, as you can see here, the content board on the right-hand side, you know, the sales team are the ones that actually went in and clicked the send button, and it actually came from the sales team itself. So we saw a significant increase in open rates when that happened. And then, you know, the key thing is the insight after send. One of the things I use it for, and I showed some graphs here, is I can now see what my top content is, right? So imagine a situation where, you know, you have limited resources to build content. So you want to see what content's being used and what content's not being used. This gives me a great indication of the most common pieces of content accessed, and then those that I can kind of either remove or look at updating or refreshing so that they also get views. And then, you know, like you talked about, and I think we'll kind of show next, is we've had some pretty significant conversion rates and some pretty great success, you know, with the first use case that's really allowed us to ingrain this idea into the sales organization.
Cool. And just really quickly, the content board looks amazing. How long did that take for your team to kind of get together and you know, devise that content play plan? I know this is one use case, but you know, at the start of your journey in launching this, like how long did it take, soup to nuts?
Yep. So it's interesting. It took us longer to find the content internally than it did for us to create the board and the content play. Right.
Wow.
So yeah. What I mean by that is, right, is so we have all this, you know, we have all this content internally, but it's sporadically located, right? I mean, you know, document management's always a challenge. So once we got, you know, the the 6 to 10 documents together. It was,
Yep.
we basically kind of came together in a little bit less than an afternoon and said, okay, what content do we want to put up there? Let's draft the emails,
Okay.
and then we were ready to go. I mean, it's really as simple as that. The interface makes it really easy. It's drag and drop, right?
Yeah.
So it was pretty simple.
So would you say it sounds like you had the ability now to kind of assess your content library and kind of look at it in a different way, it sounds like now.
That's exactly right. And that's actually, if you look at that even beyond just what we build, one of the challenges we address with our sales team is that, they often, I can't tell you how many emails I've received saying, what's the latest content on this? What's the latest? Is this the latest PowerPoint? Is this the latest, video? Now they have an area where we maintain it. They just click send, and we can see what usage is to find out, do we need more videos? Do we need more content on X or Y solution? And so it really helped address future content development, knowing that we're going to develop content that gets visibility, and then also save a lot of time from the sales team hunting and pecking and either sending out outdated content, the wrong content. So it's really kind of taken on a lot more value than just that one-to-many and those regular touch points. There's some definite additional benefits to what we've been able to accomplish.
That's great to hear. All right, so now I think this is the fun part, right? Is viewing the success by the numbers. So just if you could just go over really quickly for us the numbers that we're showing here.
Yep. And so after we launched that first content play into the select group of partners, right? We saw 40+% content engagement via the Folloze board, which if you think about it, typical open rates, we're looking at 1 to 2%, right? So yes, we were going into people that did sell us, that did know us, but to see 40% content engagement and be able to actually understand that, not only hey, it's 40%, but we have the names of the people that we're engaging, super powerful. To see this increase, right, in partner-seller engagement right out of the chute and then over time of between 25 and 50% depending on the partner, we knew that we were getting the right message in their hands, right? And this isn't this wasn't advertising. This was really delivering the right content that they needed to be successful, so that they jumped on that right away. And then one of the goals that we had is to educate on deal registration, right? So deal registration is a pretty familiar concept. And so within the first 90 days, those partners that received content plays, we saw a 27% increase in deal registration. So they were not only, they now understood how to do deal registration and were encouraged to do so. So these are some just outstanding numbers that, again, when we fed this back to the sales team that was, going out there and working with the partners on a day-to-day basis, it was really eye-opening on what, a simple technology can do and have so much power.
Yep. So, this is the initial numbers. Do you find yourself and see these types of really strong numbers kind of continue month over month, quarter over quarter, with you executing on these plays?
Yep. So what we did is we started off with targeting a couple of partners as a good use case, as a good test, and we saw these initial numbers. And these numbers are holding pretty strong, really, right, as we expand out across our partner community. And so these are becoming, almost expected. If we're below this, we start to look at, okay, why is it? Is the content not right? Are the contacts not correct? Or are the emails not correct? Because this is actually what we've come to expect when we launch this into a new partner. So yeah, they're pretty amazing, but what we've come to expect is standard numbers.
That is so cool to hear. We're coming pretty close to the end of the half hour, but I just wanted to make sure that we get in some questions and also some final thoughts and advice you would have for our audience from your experience here launching this whole program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, I'm a big technologist, right? And if there's ways where technology can help scale and provide insight, I'm all for it. And I think the key thing here is that really you need to approach it and think about it in the way of, okay, I've got, I have the message. Everybody has the message, the corporate message. And the question really comes down to, how do I target the group that I want to target? And then am I able to follow up? And so really here it comes down to, I recommend starting small, right? Look at a couple of different particular use cases. Like I mentioned, we did partners to start. We're now quickly progressing to go to our end customers directly. Similar concept. We know the people. We want to get those messages in, get that engagement. So I have some BDRs, business development representatives, who are now using this in just about every email they send to better track engagement. But kind of start small. You're going to see some of these numbers, right? And once you show that ability to kind of, the insight after the send, and share that with the sales team, all of a sudden sales becomes your best friend. So that's kind of the journey that we took from knowing that it was the right thing to being able to convince other people, is truly that insight after send capability.
Great. And now we're going to open up to some questions here. Let me see here. I have one. What are your next plans for scaling your ABM program?
Yep, no, it's a good question, right? Like I said, we started small. We started to roll out to our partner community, and we have two primary plans. One, and we did it domestically. We did it in North America. One is to roll this out internationally, starting with EMEA and then APAC, to do the same thing within their partner communities, and then to progress this over to, like I mentioned, the end customers, so to engage them directly with the latest, essentially content plays, the drip concepts that we can kind of pull together, 3 or 4 pieces of content that we want to deliver over a 4 to 6 week period. So really progress from that partner education to opportunity identification and generation methodology.
Great. I have one more. It says here, who are the ones analyzing the data? Is it your salespeople or marketing?
So the answer is both, right? It's a really good question. So when it comes to what content's being used, number of sends, engagement, I'm looking at it, marketing is looking at it at a macro level. But then sales, they constantly ask me for the metrics. Hey, we just did this, who's looking at it and what are they looking at? So really it's a combination of both teams that are analyzing the data, and it depends on the different data. Me on the content side, and then on the other side, it's really the sales team.
Okay, great. And I got one more question, kind of on the analytical side here. How do you determine your ROI goals with your partners?
So, ROI goals with our partners is really what we do, is we try to drive that around engagement, right? So what we really want is to really understand, what they're trying to accomplish, or what we're trying to accomplish with things like deal reg and engagement. So really the ROI is around how many more people within the partner community we can engage, and that's the ROI in the current scenario.
Okay. Looks like we got one more. So with with the numbers that you're analyzing, that sales and marketing, how often is there a cadence on the reporting? Is it like is it ad hoc if they ask? Is there some sort of structure in distributing that analytic company-wide and to your team?
Yep. No, so it's a great question. So I'm a big believer in self-service, right? And so the majority of the channel account managers that actually send content plays have access to the data themselves. So they can actually log into Folloze and see the data. However, my team on a monthly basis consolidates this to show macro level. We're seeing more engagement with partner A, B, and C. Here are the top partners, or here are the top customers that are engaging. So the individual user by user. It's all self-service, which is beautiful, right? Because that way they don't have to come to me. And then we aggregate it at a monthly and quarterly level to show macro level statistics that we're moving in the right direction.
Great. So that brings us to the end of the session. Wow, right on time. I love it. Eric, thank you again. It's always been a pleasure. I myself have learned a lot today from you. I'm excited to hear all the cool things that are kind of coming up for your program, and hopefully we can do this again and kind of do a look back, right? So here we have you in this session. Now it's kind of like, okay, here we are after scaling, launching and scaling our program. And again, thank you everybody on the line. A recording of this session will be made available. And I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. And Eric, again, thank you so much. And please thank the AudioCodes team for letting you and you participate on our session today.
You bet. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.